back to LA Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in with me. Today we have Cisco with us. Welcome back, Cisco.
Thank you for having me back.
No problem, no problem. I mean, it's been a lot of stuff going on in the news lately. I mean, we are headed to, what's that song? We are headed for self-destruction. Um, it's a lot of stuff going on. One thing that I've gotten a lot of questions about, a lot of comments about as well, is the Black Lives Matter movement. And I thought that was very interesting. So me and Cisco looked into the Black Lives Matter movement, and we wanted to share some of the information that we found. But we will be doing a podcast that really does go in depth on, what's going on behind the scenes of Black Lives Matter and what the whole movement really is. So please stay tuned for that. But Cisco, what have we found out about Black Lives Matter?
Well, we found out a lot about Black Lives Matter, but first we'll just give you a brief overview of Black Lives Matter, and I encourage all of LA's audience to do your own research, go to their website, because most of the information that you will need to understand what this organization is right there on their page. So basically, Black Lives Matter was founded by three women. Patrice Khan Colors, she's from Los Angeles. Alicia Garza, she's from Oakland, and she describes herself as a queer. And then you have Opal Tamedi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and she's from Nigeria, and she plays a pretty big role in the organization because she's responsible for the online platforms and the social media strategy, and her campaign is led to Black Lives Matter, stretching over 40 chapters in 4 different countries, and she also leads the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. And she describes herself as a transnational feminist. And I encourage you guys to jot that word down, transnational feminist, because, and I'll tell you what it briefly means. It means that she fits into the common feminist paradigm and the activist movements that go along with it. But she's a student of liberation theology. That's another word you need to look up. And she follows the tradition of Ella Baker, who was a Black civil rights activist. I'm sorry, I had my phone ring. Some important information that I wanted to just note here in regards to the Black feminist movement. You guys need to do a little background information on Gloria Steinem, and it's important to note that this Miss Magazine, it had a huge impact on women in America, and Steinem was, considered to be the inspirational founder of Black feminism in America. Now, in the research world, I won't say conspiracy theorist world, a lot of people believe that she was funded and backed by the CIA. And there is also this whole feminist ideology. You need to look into government social programs, Gloria Steinem, Margaret Sanger, and the social conditions facing Black people in America. Now, from their website, Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013. It was in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murder case. And that's pretty much how they started. Now, I'm just going to read something real quick from their website. This is their words. We are guided by the fact that all lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status, or location. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. We are self-reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift Black trans folk, especially Black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by the trans antagonistic violence. Now, this is a little note that I put. CS gender is a term for people whose gender identity matches their sex assigned at birth. So BLM wants to dismantle the rights or privileges given to people who are born male or female and are assigned as such. That's just something you need to understand, because that's exactly what they said from their website. More from their website. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all the world are heterosexuals or heterosexual unless he, she, or they disclose otherwise. So basically, if you're a heterosexual, your way of thinking should be altered, because there exists in the human population those who are not, according to them. Now, who funds Black Lives Matter? The short answer is the Ford Foundation. I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly. The Borealis Philanthropy, the Open Society Foundation, and the Center for American Progress. You know, I'm pretty sure you guys all know what the Ford Foundation is. And the Borealis Philanthropy, I think I'm going to get into that later. The Open Society Foundation, that's George Soros, and the Center for American Progress. Now, Black Lives Matter, you can go and get this article from policemag.com. Black Lives Matter receives around 100 million from foundations. In this particular article, that funding comes in addition to more than 33 million in grants to Black Lives Matter movement from George Soros through his Open Society Foundations, as well as grant making from the Center for American Progress. So then I looked up Center for American Progress. Now guess what? So who founded the Center for American Progress? It's none other than John Podesta. And so that whole Pizzagate scandal, so that's who funds them. That's also who funds them, the Center for American Progress, and he founded that, John Podesta. So this part I'm gonna summarize, but I encourage you to go look for yourself. George Soros and the Open Society Foundations. You can go to their website. A lot of information is on there. Their mission statement you can find on YouTube. Maybe some of these things will, LA can put this in the description so you can, find these links readily available. But the Open Society Foundation, founded by George Soros, are the world's largest private funder of independent groups working for justice, democratic governance. Now, you guys that's another word you need to look up. Democratic governance and human rights. We provide thousands of grants every year through a network of national and regional foundations and offices, funding a vast array of projects. So, on their website, I'm not going to go through all these, but on their website, you can look at pivotal moments in Open Society Foundations. You can see that they pretty much have their hands in a lot of things all over the world, from Eastern Europe, China, the Berlin Wall, when that was 1989, when that went down. They also created a university to promote their what they call an ideological force. They worked in Eastern Europe, in South Africa. In 1996, they were working on the war on drugs, all kind of different things. So you can go on their website and you can see their little timeline. It shows all their little pivotal events. Now, where do Black Lives Matter donations go? If you go to the Black Lives Matter, you may have seen this viral video that went through all the different social media platforms. And of course, I couldn't believe it. I had to go check for myself. And it's true. So basically, when you click on the donation button on Black Lives Matter, it takes you to this organization called Act Blue. And basically, if you want to keep it all the way 100, it's money laundering. That's what it is. So they funnel their money through this. Their donations get funneled through Act Blue, who actually distribute their donations. Their donations doesn't even go to what they're fighting for. Their donations go to the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates that they see fit. And I have a list of those candidates, but I'm not going to mention those now. But I have some screenshots that I took, and hopefully they'll be added into this video that you guys are going to see. And you'll see the numbers. It's a lot of different numbers. You'll see their expenditures. But let me tell you real quick. So if you donate to Black Lives Matter, the number one is Bernie Sanders, which is he's now out of the race. And that was, $186 million. And Biden for president, Elizabeth Warren, and she, if I'm not mistaken, she is not running for president anymore. You have Pete for America, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Amy for America, Friends of Andrew Yang, Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Democratic National Committee, Amy Mcgrath for Senate. So I know some of those names were kind of obscure, so I kind of did the little background research. So Pete for America he's a Democratic candidate for the presidential campaign in 2020. He's out of Indiana. Amy for America is, and I'm going to chop this name up, Amy Klobuchar. She's a U.S. Senate out of Minnesota. She's a Democrat, of course. And she announced her run for president, but she's later fallen out, and she's supporting Joe Biden. Andrew Yang was a presidential candidate, but he suspended his campaign after the primaries, and he's openly endorsed Joe Biden. You have Amy Mcgrath. She's a Marine fighter pilot, and she was the first female to do combat missions for the Marines. And she was, in 2017, she ran as an independent, but now she's a Democrat. And ironically, her husband is a lifelong Republican. So from the same site, that's just a little graphic. I'll skip over that, but I'll tell you what it means. And if she puts it up, if LA puts it up, so what you can see from this graphic, you'll see that BLM funnels the public's donations through Act Blue, who in turn puts their money in action, and you see that their money goes to all those entities that I just mentioned. But also, when I mentioned in a previous video that was related to Nipsey Hussle, I always tell you, whenever there's federal and private grants, ideology comes with that, and we clearly see the ideology that Black Lives Matter. So they basically piggybacked on the Trayvon Martin issue to promote their ideology. Then they take your donations and put it into these different Democratic candidates. And so that's basically what I have as an overview of Black Lives Matter, and I'll just keep it short there. Probably in the future, LA and I will do a more practical analysis of how things are looking on the grounds, because right now, in the last couple weeks, we've been faced with a whole bunch of protests, and you just keep on hearing, whether it's in social media or the mainstream media, Black Lives Matter. So we'll put that in the future in context of what it looks like on the ground versus what I just told you right now, and that's all I have, LA.
Okay, well, that was wonderful. And all of this research has been done by Cisco, of course, very thorough, very in-depth. But I want you guys to hear how, this particular movement has sprouted, taken wings. And, I want you to hear our take on how, not necessarily how we feel, but how we see this movement playing out. Also, Cisco, I want to get you on a podcast, and hopefully we can lay that down tomorrow.
Sure.
Because I know we've been very busy, but it's a lot of news circulating, and I definitely wanted to touch on this before things, continue on the way they're going. I want you guys to all be safe out there. If you are protesting, please be mindful, keep your eyes open, ears open, and, just know that everybody around you isn't really for you. And, it's a lot of stuff going on at these protests. We're going to also talk about the autonomous zones, and that's kind of what Cisco was talking about with the things that are playing out on the ground, because that's another major part of this movement and what has been attached to it. So please stay tuned. We will be announcing the podcast, so please tune in and listen. Thank you guys so much for listening to this, and we will be back with more.